How are you doing today, sir?
Not bad at all.
First of all, thank you for coming by.
My pleasure.
I know you're a geek.
Yes, I am.
So let's just jump right on in. You have a Kong Skull Island.
Yes, I do. This is my pride and joy today. This is, besides getting a chance to get a picture taken, besides getting a chance to picture taken with Godzilla, where I acted as King Kong, I got to buy a Kong Skull Island statue. So I'm all set, and I actually like this design better than some of the other ones beforehand. So for me, it was the original, and this version. Wasn't a big fan of the other ones in between. So right on the money.
Did you get to cheat the line?
No, this guy was sitting right there. I felt like I found gold. Nobody was going near Kong. Everybody's looking at the Godzilla stuff. So Kong rules.
Yeah, I can't get out of this convention without getting something. It's really difficult.
It's hard. You know, for me, the worst part is when I go shopping for comics. You know, and I'm always there looking, and the things that I'm looking for right now are so eclectic, and I collect very, very particular periods of time. So, like, I love the stuff from around the 70s to 72. It reminds me when I first started reading comics about what I couldn't afford, and what I couldn't buy. And now you're in a position where you can buy it, and I'm like, Jesus, shit's worth a lot of money.
Yeah, no, completely. Well, that's the thing. Like, oh man! So I did the Russo brothers panel, and one of the reasons they went after Battle of the Planets is because they loved it as a kid.
Right.
And so it's like it's the same stuff. It's like the stuff that you wanted as a kid has, you know, the nostalgia factor, and you're like, what made it cool then is what makes it cool now.
Well, it's interesting you say that, because that's an interesting part of the problems with comics we have in some ways, in my opinion. Nostalgia is driving all media right now. It's what's the pop culture phenomenon. And if comic books are a counterculture business, which it was for so long, and if the culture is nostalgia, then what does comics become? You know?
You're hitting a nail on the head.
You know what I mean? And for us, when we look at comics, you know, we should be working against the grain, not with the grain. And how do we do that, but still be true to everything that where we came from?
But the other thing that, to open this door up, the other thing is that you have so many properties that have been mined.
Right.
And there have been so many comic book shows on TV. DC does an amazing job on this on CW with all of their stuff. It's insane how many shows are. Thank you, Greg Berlanti.
Right,
that guy's a genius. But what I'm saying is that, like, there's so much out there that how do you shake it to make it so it's fresh and new and not been done before?
You just sat in a meeting I had about 5 hours ago. No lie. It's about how do we. Here's the hard part for us, okay, as comics. How do you stay relevant as a comic book publisher in a world where all media is pushing all your characters in every other form? The only way we stay relevant is ahead of them. We can't be the position where the media is determining the direction of the characters. So we have to be figuring out where our characters is going to be 5 years from now. So when the media catches up to us, we're the ones leading the charge and creating the creative direction for all these characters and stories. Completely.
This leads me to what I was curious about. So where are you in the planning stages on your day job?
We're pretty far along.
Right.
I'm happy to say. And that's the stuff that we do. You know, it's always funny for me because when I'm sitting around talking to the talent or I'm sitting around talking to folks, where I am is 2 years ahead of everybody, where I'm thinking and what we're working on. So people are talking to me about things that are happening right now. In my mind, it's over and done. Sure. I've already written it off. I'm like, oh, yeah, we've done that already. And like, no, it's never come out yet. And I'm like, oh, you're right. And I keep on forgetting about these things because ultimately we're always trying to lay the tracks in front of it so the train can really keep going at the best pace possible.
Sure. What are you excited to tease fans about what's coming in the near vicinity?
I think what we're really looking at is an exploration of the generational aspect of the DC universe. I think that's something that people embrace and I'm on board. And I said this before, so I don't feel like I'm giving too much away. But one of the things we've crafted is an overarching timeline for the DC universe. Something that actually takes us from beginning to end and explains the history of the DCU, where all stories fall, where characters fall, where they meet, where they didn't meet, and a way to really explain every major event and major thing that matters in the DC universe and the timeline that we feel holds up pretty well. The reason why we did this is because we want to create that base of understanding of who our characters are and where they came from and what stories matter to them. So in building stories in the future, we knew what their past was, and we knew what we can work from there.
Okay, I think I asked you this last year with Jim. I'm going to ask you it again. What the hell do I need to do to get a Superman movie?
Oh, that's a Jim question. I'm a publishing guy.
Let me tell you something. I don't care. I need your help to make this happen.
Well, you know what? We feel the same way. You know, and the good part is right now there's a lot of folks working very hard to really execute the stories for our characters the best way possible. I'm the publishing guy, so my job is to stay in front of them.
Sure.
You know, but I'm hoping that they catch up and they get a lot of good stuff going pretty soon too.
What surprised you? Publishing question. What surprised you with sales that you were not expecting, and what was a little bit disappointing that you thought was better than what the sales reflected?
The two things that surprised me, Deceased, which was really just a more fun, just a silly concept that wound up exploding all over the place, where our characters are all zombies. You know, you think that craze is over, and all of a sudden you put a bunch of DC characters as zombies out there, and we sell like crazy. But the one that was very exciting to see was Naomi. Somehow that book caught on fire, whether it's speculators or whatever, but that book started to really get some traction, and because of that, I feel there's some real potential out there for freshness and new ideas.
Right. How quickly, okay, let's talk about the DC as zombies. So you put that out, all of a sudden it gets this buzz and people are buying it. What is it like sort of the next day in the meeting room where you're like, okay, wait a minute, we have something here. How quickly can we pivot to embrace what the fans are responding to?
There's two things. You know, how do we make sure we get the most out of what's going on right now? And is there something else out there, but let's not force it. Because what happens for us is that if you come out with another project and it doesn't work well, people remember it not being successful than the success you had. So a lot of times what I try to do is find a way to say, if there's a natural follow-up to this, explore it, build it, and let's go for it. But if it's something you're forcing out the door just to try to make a couple of bucks more, let's not bother.
Sure. You know? With first printings, reprints, how do you feel as a publisher and as a collector when you do like the, you know, second printing, third printing, alt covers, all that stuff?
It's an interesting question because, you know, when we launch new books, if I have something that I feel is going to be important to the DC universe, it's going to make a long time stand there, I get very frustrated about putting alternate covers on it because I try to look at what's the one cover that people hold up as the start of the series. This is the introductory character. This is the cover that matters most. And so that's one of the things I'm looking at all the time. And ultimately, though, I do know that there is a collector's market out there. And we've changed our programs when it comes to the variant covers. We actually have created covers that are on better cardstock and uppriced on the creators, on the artists that people actually collect on a much greater sense because the books hold up better. And if they're buying it for the art, then we want to make sure the art presents itself properly. Me, I'm still worried about making sure people are reading the books and expanding the audience. Anything we could do to expand the audience is what I'm really looking for right now.
Sure. I think that listen, I'm a big fan of comic book covers, just like everybody else, because ultimately that's like a cool cover is a cool cover. Like I think about that McFarlane Batman that's now that statue that was revealed here. I think he did 3 issues of Batman, and that has stood the test of time. You know, it's crazy. So for you as a publisher, have you ever said, yeah, this cover, how many times do you say, this cover's not going to cut it? Or do you know what I mean? Like, because that's what people look at. That's the first thing they say.
More times than you know. Because the problem is when you have so many different artists coming on to the characters, they all come from the same pose. How many times am I going to see Batman standing on a gargoyle? How many times am I going to see the Justice League coming rushing at me? How many times am I going to see the characters standing regal, side by side, shoulder to shoulder, back to back? Every character, every artist has his interpretation of that shot, but you have to be judicious about how you use them because ultimately it can get very repetitious on the stands. And one of my fears were, and I sat down and talked to these guys about it, when we were doing the double ships. When you're double shipping books and you're putting 2 covers on every book, that's 4 covers of the same character in a very short period of time. So each one of them should feel unique in its own way, shape, and form. So we have one set of rules that apply to the main cover, which are more story-based, and for the more art-centric covers, we ask them to push it a little more stylistically, so it's clear that it's being more artist-driven than it is being driven in regards to story.
Sure. I think I'm going to bring Jack Kirby into this for a second. I think about some of the panels that he created, these iconic things that have stood the test of time. Yep. Talk a little bit about how much you guys are trying to, I don't want to say break the rules that currently exist in the comic form, but like, do you know what I mean? Like trying to push the boundary forward while also still keeping the what people love and like.
Okay, so that's an interesting question, and it's taken on a new form. I have people breaking rules, they don't even know what the rules are anymore. So what's happened is that people are doing things following other people who broke rules and using those broken rules as the new established norm. And when you're doing that and you don't know what you're basing it on, it loses its import and its weight. So for us, we have to remind people what you're doing and what you're basing this on. So therefore, they have a clear understanding of where they're coming from. And then if they want to break the rules, then we're all for it. But you got to know what rule you're breaking first before you break it.
Completely. Who is, I'm gonna ask you to, who's your favorite inker right now?
Oh, that's a great question. Kevin Nolan?
Okay. I have no. There's no right or wrong
Yeah, I
here.
know that. I know that. It's an interesting question. Danny Mickey's done some beautiful work for us. I'm watching what he's doing on John Romita on the Superman Year One book, and it really brought a different weight in life. And I love John's stuff, and I love with him working with Klaus Janson, another great inker. It was fun to see somebody else come aboard and find a different interpretation of the same artist.
Sure. What do you think? I think this is my last question because I'm going to be out of time. What do you think? Where is DC in 3 or 4 years? Where do you hope it is?
Where I hope it is that it's a wildly diverse line of product gearing to a wildly diverse audience.
Sure.
Okay? And what I mean by that, and you see the makings of it right now, you see us pushing into the young adult market with our young adult books and middle reader books. We have a great success on the Raven book that just came out from Cami Garcia and Gabriel Piccolo. Book is actually catching fire in a way that we were hoping could happen, but actually surprised it did happen. And then we're going to bring a more focused DCU line in that I feel it's a better sense of the shared universe. We're going to continue to grow the mature material so you get that sense of Elseworlds, but all these great morality plays that our characters really perform brilliantly in and things that could stand alone and help rebuild our collected editions line. And then also we're looking at the Giants that we've created. And with the Giants, we're looking as classic interpretations of our characters in a way that even the most casual fan can understand. So that helps broaden it out. So somebody just wanting to understand who characters are, you go to those books. Then on top of that, we have...
There's not enough plans right now.
It is, but
I'm teasing you.
But you're right, though. But the idea is that one size doesn't fit all.
Completely.
And it's even more important that not just one story can be just adapted into multiple formats and make it work. We have to create stories for different audiences and different formats to make sure we're reaching everybody possible.
Yeah, listen, I have a million other things, but I'm going to stop there and say probably until next Comic-Con. But enjoy your Kong. I am super jealous, and thank you for stopping by.
And next Comic-Con, you asked me that question about where this is going again.
I understand.
That?
Yeah, there it is.
There
yes.
it is.
Thank you.
You got it.